So greetings, Wake Forest Baptist family. Today is maybe a celebration or maybe it's a time of grief or all mixed in between. Because as you probably know, this week is the 1-year anniversary of the last time that I stood up in that pulpit and looked you all in the face and shared the good news of Jesus Christ in this room that is so sacred and hallowed to us. A friend of mine, Barry Howard, has a great line that I've quoted many times. He says, somewhere near the intersection of grief and gratitude, there is a scenic overlook where we can look back to the past with clearer perspective and greater appreciation, and we can move toward the future with renewed courage and deeper faith. That's where I am this week and probably a lot of weeks, looking back and yet looking forward. I look back in that intersection of grief and gratitude. There's been a lot of grief for me and for many of you through a whole year right now. What has been my grief? I think as much as anything is connections. Grief is losing what is of value to you. Nobody's more value to me than you, my church family, and the ministry of this church. So there's been a lot of grief that I'm not seeing you and not meeting with you, and I haven't been in the hospital in over a year, and there's a wonderful man in our church in the hospital right now that I want to be with. So there's some grief, and I know that you've had that as well. There's been loss of things that are important to us. I asked the deacons this past week, what has this pandemic taught you? And I got a lot of responses, and I just want to share just a few. And I bet you identify with most of these. So here's what some of the deacons said. What this whole entire year has taught them: the value of a smile. Oh boy. A spirit-filled expression has been missed behind the mask. The value of corporate worship. We need each other. God meant for us to sing and dance and laugh together. I'm thankful for technology and that the Lord has provided us with the resources and tools to stay connected during this time. The fact that we can continue to worship together even when we are not physically sitting in the same room is amazing. Hugs are needed. I'm a big one on that. But you want to know my grief? I want a hug, and I'm just missing that so much. Here's one that really spoke to me. The person wrote, there is something very peaceful in solitude and knowing that God is enough. And this person wrote about learning the difference between loneliness and solitude. I've learned to live more in the moment. I've learned to be truly thankful for each day. Then finally, I've learned that face-to-face gatherings with friends are irreplaceable. Boy, is that true. I've learned that different can still be good. So there's grief, but there's gratitude. And I deal with some days, other days. I was thinking about gratitude. I remember early on how every night when I would pray, the first thing I was praying was, thank God I'm healthy for another day. And I've kind of gotten used to that and haven't been as faithful in thanking God. But I think of friends and family members who have suffered through this, and I've been healthy. And our church has been remarkably healthy overall, and we give thanks to God for that. I'm grateful for friends who have carried me when I couldn't hardly carry myself. And I'm grateful for a church that has a foundation built on Jesus Christ that is staying strong in so many ways and still living the gospel beyond the walls in ways that make a huge difference. So there's a lot to be grateful for. What I've learned, I've shared with many here recently who come to my office a verse from Isaiah 43. Remember not the things of old. Well, we should remember where we've been. But he says, behold, I'm doing a new thing. And I'm trying to lean into what God's new thing is in my life that I've learned from the lessons of this past year. But more significantly, it says, he will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. We have made it through, folks. 1 year later, here we are. Praise be to God. He made a way through the wilderness, and he will continue to make a way for all of us as we go forward. So 1 year, this room, Boy, do I miss it. But thanks be to God.